bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man, today's Tuesday, October 24th, 297 days into the new year. Just 68 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet, I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Tonight it's World Series, Game 1. The Dodgers and the Houston Astros. Now, here we are, bottom of the 7th. Dodgers are up. It's 3-1. 3-1 Dodgers. Get your Dodger dogs. Farmer John pork sausage. All right, so for those of you that are not sports fans, this is just another show. I don't do sports anymore, as you guys know. So I don't do that, and I don't do sports here. I don't do sports birthdays. I don't do anything. I've disconnected from the sports world. I am now serving you, our community, right? Okay. So anyway, but it is, the World Series. It's here. It's in Los Angeles. Game 1 tonight. So if you are listening to the show right now and foregoing the World Series, or you've got the World Series on in the background maybe, but I do have it up. It's live here in the bunker. I'm looking at the big screen right over there. And so if anything changes or whatever, I'll try to keep you guys updated a little bit. There you go. All right. A Dodger dog sounds amazing. Yes, it does, Karen. It really does. Dodger dogs. Dodger dogs are amazing. And Dodger Stadium is amazing. Okay. Now, where am I? What am I doing? Somebody help me here. Tonight, this is what's really cool. Tonight, very special guest, author Steve Alten is here. First-time guest. He's been over on Coast many, many, many times, but it's the first time he's been on Fade to Black. And we are going to discuss his new book, Undisclosed, okay, and his approach to the book. He is a best-selling author. He's and the stuff that he has done, his Meg series, absolutely incredible stuff, right? But I've got the new book here, Undisclosed, and it's you know what? I'm going to save it for Steve and let him discuss his approach to the book. But it is very, very cool. Tomorrow night, right here, Michaela Sheldon is here. Thursday night is our 4th annual Halloween special with Shah, the Loon Witch. She will be doing your readings all night long, back to back to back. We do a couple of hundred. It's just an incredible amount of phone calls. And really looking forward to that. And she will be here on Thursday night. So it's a 4-day week for us here. Well, it's always 4 days. 4 shows. It's always 4 shows. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? See, this is the thing with having Shaw on Thursday. It's open lines anyway, right? So, but now we've got Shaw on, but we're doing open lines. There you go. All right. So that's our week here. Call-in numbers 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. And I've got to reset a couple of things here. So mainly the phone lines. Let me get these going. And there you go. Okay, phone lines are up. Twitter, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple, at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube, everything is Fade to Black. JChurchRadio, Jimmy Church Radio, Fade to Black. It's easy to do. Follow, like, and subscribe. What's really cool over on YouTube is YouTube is updated every single day. Our podcast is updated every single day. The YouTube crowd gets their fix. They know what they're doing over there. The podcast updated every single day. The membership area updated every single day. Finally, I will say this, one last final. We went through 2 today. All memberships are updated. Everything is cool there. The website is updated. And freshened and it's every single day. This show never stops. We never stop. It's just crazy. Somebody posted, it got sent to me. Jimmy, man, you look really tired in this video. Well, you think? You think? Oh man, lucky to be alive, man. Anyway, so here we are. Now, what was I was going somewhere. I had somewhere to go with what I was about to say. Oh, okay. Rita doesn't want me to do this, but I'm going to do this because the news is out. So I'm just going to say this. Our new show on History Channel has premiered. Okay? Yes, it has premiered, but it's premiered in Canada. Yes, so it's on History Channel in Canada. It started this week, and our Canadian fans up there are who let us know about it. We didn't hear about it from History Channel because History Canada is separate from History Channel, the United States. So they're doing their own thing, and it's got a new name up there. It's got a name that we didn't know about, and as I've talked about a lot on this show, the show. Didn't have clearance. Okay, so they were trying to rename the show here in the States. Okay, that's fine. Canada renamed the show, and it is called, if you go to History Channel, it's on tonight, by the way. It is called Breaking Mysterious. Go figure, right? Okay, so that's the name in Canada. What it's going to be titled here in the States, I have no idea. And the Canadian version of History Channel up there, they've come up with Breaking Mysterious. Maybe they named it in French and translated it into English. Somebody help me out, our Canada listeners right now. In French, what would Breaking Mysterious be in French? Maybe that's it. But nonetheless, the first episode, The Watchers, aired a couple of nights ago. And then tonight, the second episode is playing tonight. And then it's going through, it's playing all week, it's playing all night. And then it's playing with Ancient Aliens and also Hangar One. Like tonight, the Hangar One episode from last year, Men in Black, of which I'm in, the entire episode. So they're going to get that with our new series. Poor Canadians, man. You guys up there are getting a full dose of Jimmy Church tonight on the air. So enjoy yourselves, okay? Take some screenshots, by the way. Take some screenshots with your cell phone. Send them down here to us because I don't have a way of watching the show. I don't have a way of watching it. Maybe they'll give me some kind of secret password, and I can check it out. Okay, so there's that. Where am I? The Sandbox on Twitter is hashtag F2B. We don't bite. Come and hang out with us there. All the chat rooms are open over on KGRA and Spreaker, and they are live right in front of me. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions or comments? Hashtag F2BQ. Like I said, the breaking news right now is the World Series. Game 1 is on. Turner, by the way, lead off first inning home run. That was pretty cool. So that is going on. The Dodgers are now men on first and second, and 2 outs, bottom of the 7th. Dodgers are up 3-1. Okay, Unity Workshops needs your help. Talked about it all week on the show, all week last week. Please go and sign up right now. They're starting production on their first series of podcasts. This one's going to be on portals. They need production help. They want volunteers. This is a community effort. We could go and do, by the way, we could go and do it, all of it, without you guys. That's not the point. We want our community to be a part of all of this, okay? Producers, writers, testimonials, video, audio. All you have to do is go and visit our Jimmy Church Radio Facebook page. You can sign up at the unityproject.org. You can contact John at modernmasters.org or Rita at jimmychurchradio.com, okay? All right, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 740 archive shows, $2 a month. Click on the podcast banner at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also become a member in our membership section, an official Fade or Not, where you get all of the good stuff. You've got 4 choices there. Go and do it. Click on our membership area. All of our sponsors. Ronnie McMullen is right here with us. I'm going to bring him on in a second. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, of course, New Mana, and Bearing Optics. Okay? There you go. Support the show. Support yourself. Help the show. Help yourself. Support us through our sponsors. It's America. That's what we do. Really quick, happy birthday to today. Kevin Klein is 70 years old. A Fish Called Wanda. A Prairie Home Companion. He slayed in that. French Kiss. Love that movie. Love Story. Funny. Dave. Amazing. Grand Canyon. Smokin'. The Big Chill, of course. But his best movie was Soap Dish. Soap Dish is an amazing flick. All right, our dead guy's birthday today, the Big Bopper. 1930, 1959. He died in the plane crash with Buddy Holly and Richie Valens in the seat that was supposed to be for Waylon Jennings. So we wouldn't have had Lukenbach, Texas, I guess, right? Okay, on this day in history, 2003, the Supersonic Concorde makes its last flight. And our fader fact for the day, Russia has 800,000 faith healers, but only 640,000 doctors. And that is your fader fact. All right, I'd like to welcome back to the show the one and only Ronnie McMullen of Life Change Tea. Ronnie, you watching the World Series?
Actually, no. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, well, I've got it on in the bunker just to, for community service. That's what I mean. Community service, man. Yeah, L.A., I mean, we haven't had this much excitement. I guess we can go back to Kobe and the Lakers, right? And, man, when was the last time they won a championship? What was that, 2008, 2007? Something like that. So that's 10 years ago. For the Dodgers, Kurt Gibson, I guess, was the last moment in time that we had here. It certainly wasn't with Manny Ramirez. Okay, enough of the sports talk. So you're not watching the World Series. You're here with us hanging out.
I'm hanging out.
All right. Well, Ronnie, I just got to say this. Yesterday, as you know, and you're going to laugh about this, and so are the Fader Knots. As you know, this show ends at 10 o'clock at night, which means my dinner time is somewhere around 11. The rest of the known world, the civilized world, eats dinner at 5 o'clock, right? Me, I eat dinner at 11 o'clock at night. And then I watch a movie or two and go to bed. Usually, a lot of times, I'll eat dinner in bed. Right? Because it's 11, 12 o'clock at night. And last night, you know what I had for dinner? You're going to die. It reminds me of your commercial.
Yeah.
You know what I had?
Tell me.
Lasagna. Right?
Oh, I love lasagna.
Lasagna.
But it doesn't love me.
No. So, I mean, and I'm hungry. I'm starving. and, I just come off of a 3-hour show and I haven't eaten in like 6 hours. I'm ready to go, right? Big plate of lasagna.
Carb Central.
Yeah, so guess what I washed that down with? Life Change Tea. And I'm good to go, man. I can actually break those kinds of rules now because of Life Change Tea. And now it's turned into a crutch. I know that I can eat wrong, and I've got Life Change Tea, the super tea, to back me up, and I know it's going to be good. Is that am I creating some bad habits here, or
well they need tweaking. They need tweaking, but it's a great start. You're drinking the tea, it's great. That's good.
What is it about that? Why can I break the rules and feel okay? Because if anybody eats a big plate of lasagna, meat lasagna, and then falls asleep, you're asking for trouble. I mean, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, your veins could be filling up. Yeah, definitely. But, food is comfort for people. It really is. I mean, we had a talk on radio one time about hamburger stands and the memories they bring. So food is not just taste, but memory. So when you have lasagna, you've had that lasagna before.
Right.
And you remember.
Right.
You're like, oh, man, this is good. I'm going to have some good. You're not going to go eat. How many times when you have some raw broccoli, do you have a memory of, I was having raw broccoli. I didn't even use a dip.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you know what I mean? You're like, forget that. Let's get a big, juicy hamburger at In-N-Out.
Yeah. The raw broccoli memory is not there for me. I don't have one.
It's not stunning.
No, I don't have one.
So the tea works because then you can have, I'm not telling everybody to go have big fat lasagna or big giant burgers that are grease and then have the tea, but I would say this: if you go have your lasagna or you go have a big fat greasy burger and you don't have the tea, you could be in some big trouble.
What does the tea do? Okay, you call it super tea, super strength. What is it actually doing? My imagination is this. It's like Drano, right? That's I'm not kidding here. Okay, I'm just telling you.
That's actually a great analogy because a lot of people's colon is clogged,
right?
And this is why their organs start failing and things go bad. And
right.
We talk about John Wayne and it's ugly. So we might have the Duke if other things had changed. So long and the short of it is, yes, that's a great analogy, being like Drano, because once you get the colon unclogged, that's why people lose weight. They don't lose fat; they lose colon crud. So, weight loss can happen. And for somebody that's maybe anorexic, it can clean their colon of all kinds of garbage and turn around, instead of losing weight, they might gain weight.
Right.
So it's kind of a beautiful thing.
So right before showtime tonight, I didn't even tell you about this, and I will repost it so everybody can see this. It was time-stamped. It came in right before the show, and it's from Annie. And Annie says, hi, you two, to me and Rita, or Rita and I. And she says, I hope all is well with you both, enjoying the shows. I got the tea. Awesome stuff. Be well, Annie. That's all the email is about. Your tea. And it just, it people get it. When I was, this is probably 20 years ago, I had a friend of mine, a sales rep, and he, twice a year, he would go and have a cleansing weekend, right? He'd take a couple of days off work, a 3-day weekend, have 5 days, and he would go, and he gave me the recipe. And it was the most complicated thing, man. It was like cayenne pepper, water, honey, lemon, a couple of other herbs, and it had to boil. He had to do this, and then it's got to chill, and then he had to drink that for 5 days with no food, right? Now, and he
sure.
Now, and I don't care about the weight or anything like that. That's a lot of work. That's crazy, right? And that's what we picture those cleanses like. This is different. This is different. This is a daily thing. It's a maintenance thing, and it's delicious tea that's not complicated. You just put the tea bags in boiling, and you're just making tea. It's really that simple.
It's literally, and people, they think this is a sales technique, but it's really a truth. People that have done the tea, we have a lot of reorders. People that have done the tea, if they go off the tea, and we all do, we're going to go travel, whatever, something happens, so we go off for 3 or 4 days.
Sure.
Your body actually craves it. And what's really sad is sometimes when I see the orders come in, it's like they'll get different supplements because we carry a lot of different supplements. And that's great. I'm glad. But as long as you have all the garbage and the chemicals and the toxins and the GMOs and everything in your body, it's harder for those supplements to really work because you have all this chemical garbage in you. So the tea is like it's like the blower on the 454 engine. It's like
right.
You really need the tea to cleanse you. Then when you supplement, oh yeah, baby,
right.
You're going to feel so much different.
Right.
But you can't tell people what to do. You can only hope that they're listening and they go, yeah, I get that. I understand that.
The flavor is the other part. So to have something that tastes that good, again, these are just normal tea bags, everybody. That's all it is. It's just normal tea bags. You're not, nothing crazy. It's just you're brewing tea. But it tastes really, really good. But it is killing. I'm going to go a little graphic here. There are things inside of you that you don't want to know about. You just don't.
Parasites.
Yeah, and it's just gnarly to think about. And all of that, everything gets killed. Everything gets removed. And it's an amazing feeling, right? Again, that's exactly what's going on from a tea bag.
Well, and the other thing too is it says tea, okay? And there is tea in this, but a lot of people go, there's no way that tea can work like that. There's just no way. And in kind of a way, they're kind of right, because my tea is a herbal drink. It's an herbal tea. So basically, when I say herbal, there's 8 different herbs and there's tea in there. So there's more herbs than tea. So it's an herbal drink, but we call it tea. And people go, oh, tea. And then they see it works and, get the tea, blah, blah, blah. But it is really 8 different herbs, and they're mixed beautifully together so that they complement one another, and there's much synergy that goes on so that the tea can do its job. So it really does work. And I love the people say, that doesn't work. I might as well go buy some $5 tea at the grocery store.
No.
I love those people because I go, hey, you get the tea, and you'll see it works.
Yeah, we always have a pitcher of the tea in our refrigerator at home. It's always brewed. We've always got it going, and it's a mental thing. You have to get into the process of doing it, because now, like I said, once you do it for the first time and you you go through what you've got to go through, that first day, the second day, just think about what is inside of your body that you've never taken care of before. So you're going to get through that, and it's not like that every single time you drink a glass of this.
It's discarding.
It's cleansing. And so anyway, you're going to go through that. But then after that, it's a maintenance program. Just keep it in the refrigerator, keep it chilled, ice cold. It's thirst quenching. It's delicious. Anybody that does it for the first time, I always get that email. Man, you're right, church. This stuff is absolutely delicious. What it does for you is deadly. I mean, the tea, it's called super strength for a reason, and you should be intimidated by it. You are really helping yourself out like it's never been done before. And then after that,
rock your world.
It will rock your world. And then it's just a maintenance thing. Glass in the morning, glass at night. That's it. Glass in the morning, glass at night. And you're going to crave it. It's delicious. And there you go. You've got to get on the program. Everybody, Ronnie, as you know, everybody around me, friends, family, coworkers, when I say family, I'm talking about my world is all on Life Change Tea. Every single one of them.
we get people that actually email us or we have phone calls too, and they're in tears on a phone, many of the phone calls, because they're like, nothing has helped me with my whatever, fill in the blank, whatever you have, and your tea has helped. Your tea, and there's other words I could use, but I can't use them, so I won't use them. And I think there's something wrong with the world that we can't tell you even the real. We've had to take off of our website so many of what people are saying about the tea and what it's done for their body because of the FDA. We have to clean it up, and we can't say, "Oh, well, it did this and it did and it healed and it cured and it." We can't say any of that. So all of a sudden, the people talking about it kind of shrinks, and it's kind of like people going, "Is it not working anymore?"
Right.
No, we're under scrutiny, and I think there's something wrong when we can't talk about what the tea or the supplements do. But we can watch TV and see 35,000 commercials. Take such and such, because what it'll do is make you so wonderful. Other than the fact that it's going to kill you, it's going to wipe your dog out, it's going to bang your car up. I mean, it's like you go, what? Wow, they can do that, but we can't talk about what the tea or what any supplement is really doing. I think that's unfair.
Yeah, it is unfair. But let's talk about being fair. What do you have going with the tea right now for the Fadernauts out there?
I've got two things that are really cool. I've got the Formula 13 tea on special with it's called Internal Love. So for those of you that have some stomach GI problems, you're going to love this because you get the tea, and the tea is almost in every special. You'll notice that. Almost every special, there's either Formula 13 or the Super Tea. And the reason I do that is because it's so important to detox. But in the Internal Love, you get the Coral C, which is one of our new products, and it's vitamin C with coral calcium. And let me tell you something. Do your research on coral calcium. Wow.
Yep, amazing. I'm holding it up for the Fadernauts here. The Coral C's right here. I've been taking this every day. And the GI Joy. GI Joy, for those of you that have stomach issues, you might want to be trying this one. And of course, the Essential Bs is not just a B complex. There's 1,000 million B complexes. These are the Bs that you don't normally get. Okay, so that's why they're called Essential Bs. Or Ronnie, we have 60 seconds. What's the special?
$105 for all of it, and you're going to get free shipping, and that's the way to go. And then the other one is Palm Alley, which is the Allison Advanced, and that it would take me too long to explain what that does for you, but its root is garlic. I'll give you that, but it doesn't smell like garlic, and it doesn't go out your pores. And then, of course, that comes with 2 packages of the Formula 13 tea, so that one's a great deal too. Or you can just go to our specials page and figure out what combination you want to buy.
And what
free shipping over $100.
I have your supplements in my mouth right now.
Give them the code. You know what? We should do that. Give them the code just in case we have some people that go, I don't want to spend $100. I just want to buy one package of tea. They can get free shipping.
FADER. Fader.
There it is.
There it is. Ronnie, thank you so much, my friend. Now, go watch the World Series.
Okay, I'll try. I'll go eat.
Ronnie McMullen, Life Change Tea, everybody. Go to the special page, getthetea.com. It's right there. Say goodnight, Ronnie.
Good night.
There you go. Just go to the specials page. The promo code is Fader. You're going to get yourself free shipping. Get the tea. It's the tea, the super strength tea. Start off there and get your world straight. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back with our guest, Steve Alten. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. On this Game 1 World Series night. Yeah, there's a conspiracy there for sure. Follow me on Twitter, at JChurchRadio. Come and join in the conversation right now. Hashtag F2B on Twitter. Of course, the chat rooms are open. You guys are nuts, and I love all of you. Hashtag F2B. All right. Very excited about tonight's guest, Steve Alten, because, first-time guests are one thing for the audience, but you know what it means to me. So let's enjoy the moment tonight. I really appreciate Steve finding the time to come in and hang out with us and all of you. He grew up in Philadelphia. He earned his bachelor's degree at Penn State University, a master's degree in sports medicine from the University of Delaware, and a doctorate of education at Temple. Steve's first book, Meg, hit every major bestseller list, including number 19 on the New York Times, and became a popular radio series in Japan. Meg was picked up by Warner Brothers, and the feature film will be directed by Jon Turtletaub and stars Jason Statham, to be released in August of 2018. His second release, The Trench, was also a bestseller. His next novel, Domain, and its subsequent sequels, Resurrection and Phobos, A Mayan Fear, were runaway foreign bestsellers, number one in Spain, Mexico, and Argentina, with the rights sold to more than 20 countries. Tonight, we're going to discuss his latest book, Undisclosed, in which a veteran of the Iraqi War is appointed under the Secretary of Defense in order to penetrate a secret government purposely black-shelving a clean, abundant energy system reverse-engineered from downed UFOs. His website is stevealten.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Click
and go and check it out. Very excellent website. And I would like to welcome, for the first time, to Fade to Black, author Steve Alten. Steve, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Honored to be with you, Jimmy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. Now, this is what's really great. You get the first-time guest disclaimer. Now, the next time you're on the show, you're not going to get it. But tonight you get the first-time guest disclaimer, which is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. You ready to go?
Sounds great.
Now, there's something really unique here with you that I want to enjoy your joy in this, which is, and for the audience, they're going to stop in their tracks right now. You lost your job, right? You lose your job, and in the same week, you sign a multi-book deal with a publisher, and here you are today. Life is pretty good. That's a strange road to success, but it's got to feel and taste pretty good, doesn't it?
Well, it's more of a roller coaster than a road because, on back in 1996, September, Friday the 13th of all days, I was working as a general manager in a wholesale meat company, which is not anything I knew anything about, and came to work to find out that I no longer had a job. And, of course, that whole time I had been working on Meg, the manuscript for it, and 4 days later the book went out to the 6 biggest publishing houses in New York, and buoyed by the fact that we had a first-look deal with, at that time, Disney's Hollywood Pictures, garnered a 2-book, 7-figure deal. And that's the roller coaster that got started. After that, it was pretty wild. Meg hit all the bestsellers list as you mentioned, but the second book I was working on, which was about the Mayan calendar's doomsday prophecy, and I was way ahead of the curve. This was back in 1996, 97.
Right.
The publisher canceled the book deal 2 weeks before I was supposed to get paid $800,000. My wife and I had just moved into a new house. We had been renting new cars, and everything was going back. So what happened was that the publisher, Bantam Doubleday, was being bought out by this big German conglomerate, Bertelsmann.
Right.
And the outgoing president of the company, Arlene Friedman, was trying to make her bottom line look better, so anyone who had gotten a big advance, she was basically cutting their second book deal. So even though that Meg had just hit the bestsellers list and the paperback was coming out and they were printing 700,000 paperbacks, they gave me the axe. So we had to actually sue Doubleday to get the rights back to the Mayan story, and I quickly went to work on the sequel to Meg, which was The Trench. So that's what started the roller coaster ride, and somewhere along there, I wrote another 15 thrillers and a couple screenplays, and we've got, actually, Warner Brothers is the third movie deal we've had for Meg. The second one went to New Line Cinema. The first one, Hollywood Pictures, the president of the company, David Vogel, was fired, and in Hollywood, the new incoming president never takes over the old guy's projects because that'll make the old guy look bad.
Right.
Look good.
Right.
So, it's all about ego, you know.
Yeah, I live in Hollywood.
What's good for the studio? What's good for the ego?
Yeah, I live in Hollywood. I'm dealing with, contracts and network television and deals and all this. And I got to tell you, there's a mystery behind all of it. Nobody's got it figured out. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Jack Nicholson. You don't have control of what goes on with the feature film companies, network television, publishers, book deals. It is a gnarly business. But when it's fun and it's good. There's no doubt about that. But you're not in control of your own destiny, even though you feel like you are. Things can turn on a dime.
Oh, boy, you're not kidding. And on paper, those two deals, I lost about $1.5 million. And so I went up the roller coaster and went down the other side again.
Well, things are good. Things are good today. There's no doubt, and the books are really good. The new one, Undisclosed, is really, really, really good. It's cool beyond words because it's exactly what I like to read, and it's all of the subjects. You and I were talking about this earlier, but it's everything that we talk about, and you've got it all wrapped up into this book, and the detail is there. It's based on facts, so it reads that way. It almost feels like you could get in trouble, the way that this book is written. And I want to back up because knowing what you're writing about now, were you always fascinated with these subjects? Because you're well-read and well-researched in all of it. Has this been a lifelong thing, ufology and disclosure and alien tech and Mayan and lost history? This is what you write about. How do you do your research?
It always starts with a what-if concept. With the Domain series, the Mayan series, it was what if the asteroid that hit the Earth 65 million years ago and killed the dinosaurs and paved the way for human ascension was not an asteroid. What if it was something else, like a ship? And that was my first, foray into the UFO phenomena. But what happened was, and this is God's truth, Jimmy, what got me to write this book was a series of incidents that happened that I still can't believe that they actually happened, because it started about in the year 2010, 2011. I was finishing up the third in the Mayan series book called PHOBOS, MAYAN FEAR. And there was a section in there that dealt with extraterrestrials. So in the process of doing my research, which I do a lot of research, I came across the YouTube video for the Disclosure Project, which was Dr. Stephen Greer's project back in May of 2001, where he brought forth 20 eyewitnesses in the military, intelligence agencies, private defense contractors, NASA, the FAA, and they all stood up and testified, about 5 minutes each, that not only were UFOs and ETs real, but they had seen them, they had crossed paths with them, that it was a big cover-up. And as I was watching it and listened to the top secret clearances that these guys had, I was extremely impressed. And I wrote Dr. Greer, and I said, listen, I'm working on a book right now, and I would like to use excerpts from these testimonials in between the chapters to give it sort of more of an authentic feel. And he was very kind. He gave me permission to use it. So when the book was done, I sent him a copy of the book, and about 6 months later, I heard from him, and actually his wife emailed me and said, hey, we're going to be in Miami in December of 2013. We'd love to get together with you and your wife, meet you, have dinner together. And I thought, well, that's a great honor. Because Dr. Greer is probably arguably the foremost authority on extraterrestrials and UFOs. And he's briefed 2 sitting presidents, members of Congress, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the CIA, all sorts of world leaders. So I was pretty excited about meeting him. Well, 3 nights before we were supposed to meet, this was on a Saturday night, December 14th, and I mentioned this in the book. At about 11 o'clock at night, my wife and I are driving home from going to a movie. And as we're driving through our neighborhood, I noticed something bizarre moving toward us. These pale amber lights, like nothing I'd ever seen before. They weren't helicopters. They weren't planes. They were moving really slow, whisper quiet, about 8 to 12 of them flying in staggered pairs. And my wife and I are just staring at them. We park the car. We get out of the car. And we watch these saucer-shaped vehicles pass right over us and head into the northern sky. And one by one, they disappeared into the ether. Now let me be clear about this. Not into a cloud bank. There were no clouds that night. Just disappeared into a higher dimension. Now, that's the first time and the only time that we had ever seen UFOs. So 3 nights later, we get down to the Greers, and, of course, the first thing out of our mouth is, you're not going to believe what happened to us. And Stephen sort of gave a little chuckle, and he said, this happens to him a lot, that the way that higher intelligences work is that they communicate through thought energy. And so essentially they were checking me out. And had that incident not happened, I would never have written Undisclosed and also co-wrote Dr. Greer's book, Unacknowledged. Because what came out of that meeting was about a dozen other meetings that we talked about getting the word out into the mainstream media, into the mainstream publishing,
right,
about his work. And I said, listen, I can do that for you, but here's the deal. If you give me access to all these testimonials that you've gathered, and some were really amazingly hard-hitting, I said, I'll write the book for you. We'll publish it in the mainstream media, and we'll use my name to help get it into stores, because he had never been into Barnes & Nobles before. But I want to use the information from my own fictional novel, because I can get more out there in fiction than I think you can in nonfiction. And that's what we did.
The experience when you go through something like that, first off, as you know, with Dr. Greer, I know him pretty well. I know him pretty well. And to phase him with with what you just witnessed, right? Like you said, he just chuckled because it's just like, yeah, okay, all right, welcome to our world. He sees this all the time and he hears about this all the time. But now that you, with your wife, cross that line, combined with his disclosure project and the testimonials, now you starting to understand exactly what everybody is talking about. We are not crazy. This stuff does go on. How did your wife handle it?
Like I did, in a sense that we felt that it was both a privilege and something special, and there was no threat at all. It was totally peaceful that we were being given a look behind the curtain at something that was much bigger than any of us, and it was an honor to be able to see these things and to see that there's a greater intelligence than ours visiting our planet. And had I not seen those for myself, I couldn't have been as committed as I was to writing these two books, because there were some definite challenges along the way, and definite challenges once the book came out too, that were pretty baffling. And the powers that be definitely don't want this information out there.
No, they do not. Have you, combined with everything else, have you experienced any pushback from Washington or other agencies, not only with what you're doing, but Undisclosed and Unacknowledged and Greer? Have there been other experiences?
Yeah, we've had some strange experiences. First, Stephen went in the process of promoting Unacknowledged, which is all these testimonials from eyewitnesses, that many of which could not have been published until by their own request after they passed away, because they knew if the information came out, they would be killed anyway. So there's a lot of hard-hitting stuff in Unacknowledged, and Undisclosed too, because I certainly used a lot of it in my book too. But what happened was he had been scheduled to do an interview with Breitbart, and whatever you think of Breitbart, they've got a huge public following. So he flew out to Los Angeles, did a 2-hour interview, and somebody canceled the publication of the interview. So not only a waste of his time, but basically got blocked from getting into the mainstream media.
Yeah, I had mentioned, and I mentioned to him and also Michael Mazzola that I would just stick to that the movie is out and it's in release and talk about that, as opposed to everything else that is going on. Keep the message moving forward with Unacknowledged. Let the world see it, right? And stick to that's what I would do, because the doors have been opened. Having somebody behind you like the Orchard and Sony, and going into a major release with this, that's the big hurdle, right? Let it play out the way that it needs to play out, and don't worry about it. But the film itself is very impressive, and even though like for you, did you think that there was anything groundbreaking in the film, or that the message was for somebody that has never experienced the UFO subject and now they're getting UFO 101?
I wouldn't say there was anything groundbreaking, simply because I had seen Serious Disclosure movie. I had read all of his papers. I mean, to write his book, I had to do almost a year and a half to 2 years of preparation. We had spent a week together in Vero Beach on a CE5 expedition. We had spent a lot of time together doing interviews. I probably had hundreds, if not 1,000 hours worth of tapes and videos that I had to watch. So none of it was groundbreaking because I'd already read all the background information on it. But the two major things on both books and the movie that were the keys that we had decided that needed to get out, and really, when I say we, I mean Stephen, is the false flag event that's in the planning stages, where basically an Independence Day-like attack will happen, only it won't be from extraterrestrials and interstellars, it will be from the Defense Department posing as them, because they've got these ARVs, these alien reproduction vehicles that look exactly like UFOs and perform like them too.
Right.
They've got fake ETs that have been biologically grown, and you couldn't tell them from the real thing. And so, in order to put down their control over basically the planet, run by the military-industrial complex, that's what's in the planning stages now. How do you stop a false flag event? You leak it. You get it out there ahead of time, because then it's no longer a threat, because then the public knows that. I mean, it's sort of like if we wrote a book about 9/11 and put it out 2 months before 9/11 happened, maybe it doesn't happen.
Right.
But the second thing, which is just as important on a positive end, is that zero-point energy not only exists, but it can change the way this planet, the way we live. It ends poverty, it ends hunger, it ends fossil fuels, of course, which is the reason it's not coming out. So those were the two big messages, zero-point energy and the false flag event. And I think the books and the movie did a great job of getting this information out.
What is your take on if a false flag, whether it's Project Bluebeam or it's ARVs, but this fake alien attack is done as a false flag? Do you think? What's your view on ET in general? Do you think that they are malevolent or benevolent, that they mean us harm, or they are here for the good of us and we have nothing to fear?
There's no doubt that they're here for the good of us. I mean, if you go back why they started coming in droves, it all started back in World War II with, we basically brought them here by, in a sense, the teenagers learned how to play with matches and gasoline because we were testing atomic weapons. And so you had the Foo Fighters, which was the name that was given to these energy drones that were basically shadowing warplanes on both sides of the war and freaking everybody out. And President Roosevelt actually, he wanted to know if the Nazis were behind it, so he sent General Jimmy Doolittle to Europe, who reported that they were not Nazi inventions, they were actually interplanetary in nature. And MacArthur had his own experiences, in the Pacific, dealing with these things too. So, but there was a reason that they were there, and that was because we had brought them there by splitting the atom. And that proved that we were dangerous because, and I say this in the book, there's different types of civilizations. There's a Type 1 civilization, a Type 2, and a Type 3, Type 3 being the most advanced. We, humanity, as a Type 0 civilization, we have the capacity to destroy ourselves, but we don't have the spiritual discipline not to pull the trigger. And you look at things that are going on in the world today, and it's scary. And we are in a scary position because, we may not make it to be a Type 1 civilization.
Maybe not. I mean, maybe not. Maybe not. Well, the outlook for all of that, because we haven't been interfered with, do you think it's because we are still here. In other words, you and I are talking right now on this show. If they had bad intentions, we wouldn't be here. I think that's the best way to look at it if somebody wants proof.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they wanted to destroy us, they could destroy us in a blink of an eye. And they've been very tolerant, too, because we've been downing their ships since 1947.
Right.
You know, we've probably downed several dozen of them, you know, from 47 to 56 and since then as well. And, you know, we've reversed engineered these ships so that we now have control of zero-point energy, and we now have control of the ability to, as the head of Skunk Works said, fly ET home or bring ET home. We have the technology. We have the Ferrari that we keep locked up in the garage while NASA keeps puttering around with these ridiculous shuttles and things like that. But we just can't bring them out because they don't want us to bring them out. I mean, one of the things that was amazing to me when I read it in Dr. Greer's testimonials is that, and this is coming from people in NASA and other space agencies that are even above that NASA, that basically said that, you know, we are quarantined to this planet. They don't want us on the moon anymore, which is why the moon missions ended. They don't want us on Mars. They want us staying right here until we learn how to love one another.
That is the next step. Let's take a break right here, Steve. Our guest tonight, Steve Alten. We're talking about his new book, Undisclosed. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Everybody stay right there. More with Steve Alten right after this short break. Stay with us.
Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly Ancient Life Oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. We've got Steve's links for Twitter up in the feed, so you can follow Steve right there. I'll bust another one or two here in just a second. Talking about Steve's new book, Undisclosed. Now, Steve, I wanted to ask you about the approach of writing this as a novel based on fact. It goes out to a whole nother audience that way. Why did you choose to approach it like that?
Well, all my books are sort of like that, what I call fiction mixed with fact.
Right.
And I think people enjoy it more because when the lines are blurred, they're not quite sure what is real and what's not real.
How's the reception been?
Very good. People have read it. They've given it great reviews.
And for the audience out there that is reading this as a novel, right, and they're reading it and may not know anything about, 0 point energy or, black projects or the way that the military industrial complex is dealing with the stuff and not disclosing this to the public, it may seem a little bit far out for them. And they really don't understand it. Do you think it is helping expose this great, if not the greatest conspiracy of all to them? And then they can go and do their own research and maybe go and check this subject out. Because I think it would be shocking to them to find out that this is actually what's really going on.
Well, that's the advantage of putting the information in a novel, because in a novel, I can craft the response of the main characters to mirror the response of the reader. So that, in this situation, Adam Shariak, the hero of the story, he doesn't believe any of this stuff any more than the reader will. But as the hero of the story goes through it himself and gets swept down the rabbit hole, and these things start happening to him, which are basically a lot of the things that happened to Dr. Greer over the years.
Right.
Who's also a character in the book. Then the readers are reading it for the first time, but they're reading it with the character, experiencing it with the character, putting the same objections out there as the character, and as the character changes his mind about the truth, the reader changes their mind as well.
Is there, when you have something like this where you have the Undersecretary of Defense and, a war hero or veteran that is, appointed or promoted, however you want to call that, in order to penetrate, the government to pursue this, is that character based on reality? Was there somebody in this position?
Well, there wasn't, because Dr. Greer is not involved in politics, and he's not involved in the Pentagon or an appointed office. But the things that happened to the character Adam Shariak, the Undersecretary of Defense, did happen to Greer. Dr. Greer was bribed. His life was threatened. He almost died several times. He lost colleagues. And those similar situations happened to the hero of the story as well.
Somebody just tweeted out, what about the Men in Black? When you are entering this world, have you had that experience? Have you had a Men in Black experience?
Something similar. I was doing a radio show, WGN in Chicago.
Right.
And in the middle of a story, they suddenly got hit by an electromagnetic pulse or something that disconnected the call. And they got me back on, they got me back on, and they played what had happened to me because I hadn't heard it on my point. From my end, the line just went dead. But when they replayed it, it was a blast, an electrical blast. And then it happened 10 minutes later. So it happened twice on the same show. Somebody didn't like what I was talking about, even though this is quote-unquote fiction. And so they decided to prematurely end the interview.
Yeah, WGN for everybody. I grew up in Chicago, and I'm here to tell you that is the big network in Chicago. They don't have technical issues there, if you know what I mean.
I do, and I had another strange thing happen. I don't know if it's related, but it could be. The book came out in the end of June, and we had this big public relations program set up in July and August. Well, July was a decent month, but June was a decent month, but July suddenly faded. And it didn't make any sense because, as you know, Amazon has a ranking system that sort of acts like a barometer of how you're doing public relations-wise and sales-wise. And the numbers were going up, not down, which they should have gone down. The rankings should have gone down to say that we were selling more books. And then I just happened to click on the other formats link on the Undisclosed, and I was shocked to find that they were selling a paperback of my novel, that they had violated my copyrights and put out their own book with my name on it, with my title, and were underselling the hardback that was out there. And, Amazon's owned by the Washington Post guy.
Right.
And this was totally baffling. So I had to hire an attorney. They had to put out a cease and desist. Now we're going back and forth and trying to figure out a settlement. But it basically knocked the book off its selling tracks for about 45 days.
So how does that work? Are they giving you royalties on this paperback that they started publishing?
No, they're just they claimed, and this was a bizarre claim, they claimed that some Russian guy living in Quebec sent them the book to their Create Space offshoot, which is self-publishing. Basically, it's print on demand. And print-on-demand books are not sold in stores. Print-on-demand are just crappy books. Well, they decided to print-on-demand my book. So while I'm selling a $27 hardback, they're selling a $12 paperback with the same cover. Total violation of copyright law. From Amazon, the biggest bookseller in the world. It's just bizarre.
And don't they? Why wouldn't they do due diligence? I mean, how? Wow, that's crazy. And so they just take somebody from Quebec at their word?
Well, this guy's name was so bizarre that there was no way that this guy's a real guy. And that should have set off the red flag right away from the beginning. Not only that, but his name was obviously not the name on the title of the book, so that should have set off the next red flag. I mean, there's a reason that they don't publish War and Peace in a trade paperback because they don't own the rights to it, because they know they don't own the rights to it. So why would they publish my book? I mean, it's not like I'm just a self-published author. I'm, been on the bestsellers list over the last 20 years, and it was just bizarre situation. And fortunately, we caught him in the act.
And if you hadn't clicked on that link, Steve, you would have never known, right?
That's right.
And what about your publisher? Did they step in too as well? I mean, certainly they've got your back.
They've got my back, and they sued, and so we've got an attorney who's representing us, and hopefully things will settle in my favor. But I mean, they know they did it. They're dead to rights. I mean, just to make sure, before we put out the cease and desist, we ordered a couple copies of the book.
Right.
And we took snapshots of the website and their offering and the ranking and everything.
How many, okay, we're going to move on here in just a second, but I'm just curious, how many copies of the paperback were sold?
They claim it's under 200, but that's what they claim.
Yeah.
How do you know that Amazon's lying because their lips are moving or the emails being sent?
Now, when it comes to disclosure, your book is called Undisclosed, but I ask just about every guest that I have on the show, and I do this with callers too as well. What is your definition of disclosure?
To me, the definition of disclosure is to tell the truth about UFOs, to tell the truth about extraterrestrials, to reveal the truth about zero-point energy, that not only that it exists, that we have it, because that's the big planet changer. That's the thing that changes humanity. Because we should have been off of fossil fuels 50 years ago. And the fact that we didn't get off of them, that we've been manipulated by the fossil fuel industry, specifically the big oil, big coal, and the people, and all the people receiving their bribes in politics, we've destroyed this planet just about. I mean, the pollution is ridiculous. The climate change is an absolute real phenomenon that we created. And here we have this zero-point energy that's being controlled by, for lack of a better term, the men in black, that can change our planet. But these people in charge don't want to change the planet because they're in charge. Because if you suddenly had this free, clean, zero-point energy out there, then every third world country would no longer be a third world country. And the United States would be controlling the world.
How should we approach that to force the government's hand, any government's hand, to admitting to deception and lies? That's a tough one. How do you think we should get that done?
Well, most of the people in government don't know that it exists. It's just a few gatekeepers that are keeping things battened down into the military-industrial complex umbrella. But in order to change things, it can't be a political solution. It has to be from the masses. And I was very encouraged when people came out in the masses to unite behind that they didn't want Obamacare taken away. And when that happened, that gave me hope that the masses could organize again for zero-point energy once they figure it out and they learn about it.
But to have to answer to 70 years of lying about ET, that's one thing. Okay, we might be able to pull that off. But that leads to probably an infinite amount of things that we were lied to that extend off of that. They would have to apologize for months, right? I mean, they would have to get up there.
I mean, a lot of these people are dead, and you also have to realize that in the organization that originally started as Majestic 12, which is now called MAGI, a lot of the people that are working in the organization don't know they're working for the organization because everything's compartmentalized. And so you have these USAPs, these unacknowledged special access projects, which the book talks about, which are these projects that are secretly funded, that the people, even most of the people working in them, don't even know what it's about because it's so compartmentalized. And only a handful of people actually know. And, it's being funded using taxpayer money to the tune of about 80 to 100 billion with a B dollars a year. Not to mention all the criminal activities that they're involved in, which is even 10 times more that. So, they're running drugs to raise money for these things. They're human slaves. They're doing all sorts of despicable, disgusting things. And so, you really have a major RICO Act going on with this secret faction of the Defense Department, a secret faction of the government that most people don't even know exists. So, yeah, there's a lot to get out there. There's no doubt about it. But once it does get out, the power is returned to the people because they're not going to stand for it. You know, there's no reason for us to be struggling. There's no reason for people to go hungry. There's no reason to have all this pollution and poverty. And it's being kept from us because a handful of greedy bastards out there just want to continue to be in charge. Then people aren't going to put up with that once they learn about it.
Do you think it would be the president that would make that decision, or would it have to come from somebody in a more compartmentalized position that has direct access to that information, and they would have to make the disclosure? In that, you know, the president isn't the one with the real power anyway. They come and go every 4 years. The agenda is there and will continue to run as we go through each new administration and we have that turnover. So would it have to come from somebody from the inside, and they would just tell the president, you know, we have to do this. This is what's going on. This is not in your control. Do you think that's how it would have to go down?
Well, as Dr. Gree would tell you, I mean, he briefed Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton wanted to come forward, but he was afraid, and Hillary didn't want him to do it because he would have become another JFK. They would have just killed him. And Obama wanted to do something about it too, only they basically, when he went to pick up his Nobel Prize, they shot a scalar weapon over the skies in Norway, and that was his warning that you better keep your mouth shut or we'll just take out Air Force One. So the presidents, and Jimmy Carter had his own UFO sightings, and Reagan was basically being toyed with to believe that Star Wars was needed to combat the evil aliens, and you know, Dick Cheney in the Bush administration. Dick Cheney is a member of MAGIC, so he's one of these sociopaths that are running this organization. And, you know, by the way, as you know from reading the book, we name names and places and locations and all that stuff. Just basically put it all out there.
And you just mentioned Dick Cheney is part of MAGIC?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
And in what capacity? What would he be doing there?
Involved in the military-industrial side of things, involved in the fossil fuel industry side of things. Trying to keep the status quo. You know, there's a minority that's basically running that organization because the majority are afraid of the wackos that are running it.
And how do they get replaced? I wanted to ask you about that. Do they get voted in? You know, Cheney is definitely on his last leg. I mean, he can't have too many days left on the planet. So when somebody is, dies, passes on, how are they replaced in MAGIC?
It's a multinational organization, transnational organization. I can't exactly tell you for sure how they promote people from within. Obviously, people die off at different periods or retired. I mean, one of the amazing stories is concerned the fact that back during the Clinton administration, Dr. Greer was contacted by somebody who said that his best friend worked in MAGIC and wanted to come forward and provide a zero-point energy device and $50 million in seed money to Dr. Greer. So he begged the guy to tell his friend, to disclose who he was, because that way Dr. Greer could protect him. That from Dr. Greer's experience, these people who keep things a secret, whether it's trying to build these zero-point energy devices or whatever it might be, they're the ones who end up dead. And unfortunately, this guy ended up dead. They fished him out of the Potomac. And that was the former CIA director, William Colby.
And is this divided on, because you've just mentioned Cheney, you've mentioned Clinton, and Obama, this isn't divided down party lines. A political affiliation has nothing to do with any of this.
No, it's all they're all the same ilk. I mean, basically, no, it's not divided upon party lines.
And which is why I always bring up, the administrations go through, we're turning over something every 4 years. It does not matter who is in the Oval Office. The agenda that is going on continues to run in forever. It's not going to go away. Those that are involved they're in there for their career, 30, 40, 50 years. The Oval Office is every 4 years, and that's a point that most people don't understand.
And not only that, Jimmy, but you have a situation where, way back when President Eisenhower established these different organizations, whether it was the CIA, the DIA, Magic 12, and basically gave them autonomy over the United States. I mean, they basically, the CIA isn't responsible to held responsible to Congress or the president. So, these groups are basically running their own program. They're not in league with any policies of the United States. They're basically doing whatever they want to do, whether it's setting up a puppet government or running drugs out of Afghanistan, running heroin to make billions and billions of dollars, or whatever it might be. They're on their own program. So, and not only that, but Congress can't even regulate their budget. They're not even allowed to know what their budget is. So how can you have this secret faction of the government running within the government itself? The military-industrial complex is controlling everything.
Where do you think that lost $13 trillion? Where do you think it went?
The $3.2 trillion, or the $2.3 trillion, I should say, that Rumsfeld mentioned the day before 9/11.
Well, that's the first iteration of it. Today it's around $13 trillion all in.
Well, there's no doubt that it's being used to finance these USAPs, these unacknowledged special access projects. The biggest, most secret of them being the UFO extraterrestrial end of the spectrum.
And
you got dozens of these subterranean bases located miles beneath military bases, or there's even one under an airport. And you have these entire complexes that were built 4 or 5 decades ago that are still running, and they've got these high-speed trains that are running, connecting these things underground, and it's just unbelievable, these things that are going on without us having a clue.
Do you think also when we're talking about this missing money, especially with the special access programs, we have things that are being done in space? That there's no question about that. There is a secret space program that, we can talk about the X-37B right there. If you want proof of something, there's a secret program going on. And the amount of staff, scientists, engineers, and designers, production, just behind the X-37B, we're talking about thousands and thousands of people. It is a hugely expensive program. But then we have the other side of things where we could actually be dealing with things underground or under the ocean that nobody can control that spending. When we are talking about, $10 trillion, we're talking about the world's GDP. Right? A lot can be done with that kind of money.
Oh, absolutely. And it's all being kept from the public.
When we are talking about petrodollars and we're talking about fossil fuels, are we at a point where that's going to continue until we are out of oil? And then, so they can figure out a way to finance or to profitize free energy, right? When they figure that out, then we'll get off of the oil program. And that's probably not going to happen until we, quite frankly, run out of oil. They're not going to let that money train go, are they?
And make no doubt that that we are running out of oil. I mean, I wrote a book called The Shell Game, and in it, I basically showed that peak oil happened back in 2004, 2005, and we're on the downward slope of a steep curve, and we are running out of oil, and it's a dangerous situation for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that without oil we couldn't feed our masses. That it takes oil for pesticides, that it takes oil to bring our crops to market, to bring our food to market. It takes oil to run these machines. And so when oil does run out, basically it's the end of civilization as we know it.
Well, everything, and I've tried to make this point, Steve. We're going to head towards a break here, but look around you. The airline industry, the train industry, the infrastructure, our delivery systems, boats, ships. You just pointed out the agriculture equipment. Everything around you. Forget about the plastics and the bottles and the containers. Everything is oil-based. We don't have an answer. All of those airplanes, all of those airports around the world have to fly in the sky based on the current technology. You take that away, now think about the waste of the infrastructure that is there, and we don't have anything to replace them. And that includes the semi-trucks, the buses, the cars, the motorcycles. Everything is based on oil. Everything. There is nothing that oil does not touch.
Absolutely right. And oil and the bankers are in cahoots with each other, and the third prong of that is the military-industrial complex. So it all circles around. War is good for the economy, it's good for the bankers, it's good for the oil industry, and it's good for the Defense Department.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Steve Alten. We're discussing his new book, Undisclosed. We're going to continue this conversation right where we left off, right after the short break. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. This is Fade to Black. More with Steve Alten after this break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks.
CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I just put up Steve's right there. It's Meg 82159 on Twitter. All right. Now, what I wanted to talk about, Steve, I've witnessed things in the sky that I can't explain. You saw your grouping of amber lights that you just can't explain, but it's right there. These sightings are going on every single day. Night vision, CE5 gatherings. You know, Stephen Greer has really pushed that thing forward. But what are we seeing? Are we seeing ET, or are we seeing our own special access projects, and these are terrestrial?
Well, I guess it's a matter of perspective. I mean, you know, I'm of the perspective and the thought process that all life in the universe is connected, that we all came from one creator, that we all have a spark of the soul, a spark of the creator in us called the soul, and that, you know, the universe didn't sprout all these life forms at once. It happened over, you know, whatever time period you want to call it, you know, 14 billion years, whatever it might be. So, but the higher the life form, the more spiritual the life form, the more understanding that, you know, love is what we're supposed to have toward each other, and we've got a long way to go on that. So what are these beings that are here? Why are they here? Well, to answer the why first, they're here because they're afraid we're going to kill each other or wipe out this planet. And they don't want that. You know, who are they? They're, you know, from the counts that I've heard from eyewitness testimonials, you're looking at anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 20 to 36 or more different life forms from different planets or civilizations. And, you know, some of them have human characteristics, and some of them have evolved from, instead of primates, evolved from insects. And some of them are avatars. Some of them are, you know, the majority travel through ships, but others don't. That they've evolved so much that they no longer need physical transportation to project them from one place to another. So you've got interstellar civilizations that are much more advanced than us. Some are different, some are alike in many ways, and they're all here for collectively the same basic reason, because we are a threat to ourselves and our planet.
The other part of it, though, that I find interesting, and I'll give you an example. I actually have two, but I'm going to do one first. We had a mass sighting 2 years in a row out in Joshua Tree, California. not to go into those details, but a very obvious, very large, multiple ships just 19 miles away from 29 Palms, one of the biggest marine installations in the entire world, training base, facility, just they've got everything out there. And so it's 19 miles away. They know they are seeing the exact same things we are. They didn't scramble any helicopters. They didn't scramble any jets. There was nothing going on from the base. We were just there witnessing what was going on in the sky. Multiple colors, low altitude, going on for hours. So either they couldn't do anything about it, and they see it all the time, and they left it alone, or it was our technology that they knew about, and there was no need to scramble anything. So now we have two problems here, right? You see what I'm saying? And both of them are big issues, but it was clearly going on in the skies. Why do you think when something is going on like that the Marines aren't getting involved?
Well, I think you nailed it on the head. I think that it's standard operating procedure if these things are showing up that they dispatch jet fighters. In fact, when I was with Dr. Greer on his Vero Beach expedition for a week, and we were out there, we had some major sightings, and the next thing you know, the jet fighters were flying over us. So, that if anything, that's a method of authenticating the sighting. But if they're not making a move, then, it's those ARVs, those alien reproduction vehicles, those man-made ships, because otherwise they would have dispatched the jet fighters to get rid of them.
And do you think that the world can handle it? Disclosure. We have our community, you and us, and we're okay. We're yelling for it. But what about the rest of the world? Do you think they can handle it?
Well, that's an interesting question that I thought about when I started writing the book, because there's actually a B story involved in the book, as you know, and that takes place in the year 2032, I believe, and after the disclosure event of 2017. And the purpose of showing the future is to show to paint a picture of what life could be like on this planet for human civilization. Here are the advances. Here's the society. Here's a society of peace. Here's a society that everyone prospers, that everyone lives long, healthy, happy lives, that disease has been eradicated, that sickness has been eradicated, that hunger has been eradicated, that the planet, the air is breathable again. And by showing them that, hopefully it motivates people to think that, okay, we can handle the disclosure event. We can handle the truth. So to answer your question, can people handle it? Well, there's going to be segments of the people that don't want to handle it. There's segments of the population out there that believe in the Flintstone evolution, that Fred and Barney were with the brontosauruses at the same time because the Earth is only 5,000 years old. So you're not going to convince them. But hopefully, the majority of the people, once they accept the fact that we're not alone in the universe. And I think if you ask the question, do you believe that we are alone in the universe? I think the majority of people around the world would say, no, we're not alone. That the universe is just so huge that there are trillions of solar systems out there that could harbor planets just like Earth and other civilizations that could survive on these planets. And of course, there's a big difference between believing that we're not alone and seeing something for yourself. That's, the chicken's committed to breakfast, but the pork has skin in the game.
Well, it has to see. This is my issue with the man when it comes to this. They write these reports, and religion, and will freak out. The world's religions, the economy is going to collapse, and we just can't handle it. So we need to keep this secret from the planet. But at the same time, that question, are we alone in the universe, is the question. There's two questions that have been asked for the last 10,000 years since we've, started to become civilized. What happens when we die? Are we alone in the universe? Those are the two we've been asking that question of ourselves forever. I think that and I'm talking about everybody on this planet, we've been prepared for that. I don't think finding out that we're not alone is a bad thing and that ET has been visiting here. Okay, that question gets answered. Now we can move on. We have other issues that we need to work out. So let's get that, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's going to be the big freak out that the government is using as an excuse for telling us the truth.
Unless it suddenly evolves into a false flag event, and then the freak out comes. So you sort of have to wonder, is that why they prepared these ARVs? Is that why they prepared these fake extraterrestrials? Because if disclosure ever happened, they'd want to flip it on its side and turn it into war, because war is profitable, and dealing with an interstellar civilization that's far more advanced than us is not. But but I agree with you 100%. I mean, to answer your question, there's going to be people who freak out, but the truth of the matter is that I think we're able to handle it better now than any other time in our civilization.
Well, and there's a couple of things that come into play here. If that happens, and the disclosure happens that is not in the government's control, right? It's something that they cannot control. An Independence Day type of visit from ET, right? So if something like that happens and it's out of the government's control, then they have to explain it. But if they do it another way with a false flag situation, what's the motivation there? Is it because now we are fighting a common enemy and we've got to spend money in this area, and it's just because it helps, the shadow government continue the profits? Or is there another reason behind a false flag?
Well, there's a couple different reasons, and you nailed a couple. One is that the military wants to be in charge, and not just from a financial standpoint, but because of ego and ruling the planet. Another reason is that you've got some very right-wing religious sects that are also involved in Magic 12 that want to see the return of Christ. And so in order to appease their religious viewpoint, that requires Armageddon. So, you've got the crazy sect too. Then you've got the sociopath sect that basically, has no conscience, that they, dead bodies don't bother them at all, and they have their own sick, sordid reasons for wanting to be in charge of things, and they don't care about anybody else on this planet. So you've got some pretty radical sects out there that are running things, and then you've got people that are involved with them that are, more caring people that are going to have to come to rise in power and in order for things to progress.
What do we do with the other scenario, the one that the man can't control, and which is this? They go and they have their false flag. They plan it. They're expecting, a certain outcome, and they're planning for that. But then the exact opposite happens, one which the world unites, and we don't want to fight each other anymore, and we want to now be earthlings, and we're okay. You know what I mean? The exact opposite. And then we rise up and throw the military-industrial complex out on their keister. And that could be, you cannot control the masses if that's what they want. We can talk about what things that have happened in Spain and France and, throughout history where the revolts will happen when you least expect it. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, that's the thing. The power is still in the people's hands. And, but they have to have the knowledge of what they're aiming for in order to accomplish anything.
Have you thought about the different world religions in this aspect? Because when you jump ahead in the book in 2032, what happens with Islam, right? What happens with the Vatican? How, after disclosure, what happens with the world's religions?
Well, regarding Islam, Islam's not the enemy. The radical section of Islam is the enemy, just like the radical section of the Christian coalition is the enemy, just like the radical white supremacists are the enemy, and other sects, same thing. So, what motivates the enemy? What causes the division out there? A lot of the problems in the Middle East have to do with, although it's probably an excuse, the fact that the United States is in their territory in Saudi Arabia, and of course the reason that we tolerate the Saudis, which are not our ally, if you look at the things that they do out there and what they preach in their radical form of Islam and Wahhabism, is, they death to America, death to the West, death to Israel. So these are why are we tolerating this? Well, because of the oil. So it just goes round and round in a cycle. You want the oil, then you got to protect the Saudis, and you protect the Saudis, and you're protecting Wahhabism. You protect Wahhabism, then that breeds terrorism, and so basically when we buy oil, we're financing terrorism. So you got to get that part out of the wheel. You got to get out the oil, replace the oil, because once that happens, then the world's religions, it does make a change.
The aspect of the religions is one thing, and then there were reports, because we're talking about false flags and the possibility of that, not only with ARVs, but they could be 3D holographic, blue beam type of projections in the sky that look like alien craft. That's all you really need to do, right? But there were reports that we were doing just that with Saddam's army in Iraq with the original invasion, that we were projecting images, religious things up into the clouds and freaking the army out, where they were dropping their arms and surrendering, right? So this technology is there, isn't it?
It is, and some pretty evil stuff along with it. I mean, there's something that Dr. Greer experienced several times, where you had these weapons that, basically, well, part of it was that it can actually transport cancer from one place into another person's body, and that's what happened to Dr. Greer's team. I mean, he had a senator from New Mexico, and his right hand in Sirius, who they had contracted cancer and metastatic cancer, and he did too. And what saved him was that when he got struck with it, his dog was near him and absorbed some of it, and so the dog had cancer in the same place that Stephen Greer had it, and he was able to survive it, and Sherry Aramac was not able to survive it, and neither was the senator from New Mexico that he was working with. So you have these weapons that can transport diseases, that can mess around with your mind, that can suck your soul out, and he went through a lot of that stuff when things got really bad.
And what about the ability to project thought?
Yes, that's all part of it. Well, let me restate that. These higher intelligence, they communicate what Dr. Greer was able to figure out through certain things that happened to him. One was a near-death experience when he was a teenager, and he actually died and went out, and his consciousness went out into space, and he was able to communicate with a higher being through thought energy and through thought concepts, and that gave him the clue that he realized that these higher intelligences, that's how they communicate, through thought energy. And that also answers the question about how does a civilization that may travel, 2,000 light years from home to get to Earth communicate with their home world. well, you can't communicate by radio wave because, by the time it got there, everyone would be dead. It could be 2,000 years. So
right,
you communicate through thought energy.
And is that instantaneous?
Yes.
It's instant, right?
Yes.
And so when we are talking, I was going to ask you about this earlier. I'm glad we're jumping on this now because we have so many witnesses and experiencers and contactees around the world that are in communication with something. Something is communicating here, and the message is the same around the world. When we are talking about that type of communication, could it be coming from 2,000 light years away? It doesn't have to necessarily be, from on this planet or ET being here or a mothership that's in orbit around Earth that we can't see. It could literally be happening from another star system.
Well, and that's sort of how the whole CE5, the Close Encounter 5, works. You have Dr. Greer, who's organized a group of, let's say, 25 people, and you're sitting around in a meditation circle, and you're using remote viewing techniques to basically remote view your position on our planet, and the planet's position within the solar system, and the solar system's position within the galaxy. And so that this united thought energy is being cast out there from, let's say, Joshua Tree and vectoring in anything that's passing by. So, along comes an interstellar ship, and they pick up on the vibes, and they follow the vibes into the vectored area, the place in Joshua Tree, and then you have your encounter, a close encounter. So, that's how those things work. The other thing is that these interstellar ships, as well as the ARVs, by using zero-point energy and applying an electrical charge to the zero-point energy, are able to become anti-gravitic craft, moving beyond the speed of light, moving almost instantaneously, but not quite. And they're also moving through a higher dimension. So, they could be sitting right outside of your window right now in a higher dimension, and you wouldn't be able to see them until they moved into our third dimension. And, of course, that's what happens because when these UFOs move from their higher dimension into our third physical dimension, and they cross that boundary, the crossing point of light, they become visible on the military screens, military's radar, and that's what causes the jet fighters to be released, because that's it's that crossing over into the third dimension makes them visible.
Well, that certainly explains so many different eyewitness testimony where they're looking up in the sky, suddenly a craft appears. And then all of a sudden it's gone. It's merely visiting us in our world just for a second. And it also could be an accident, right? It could be them just for a moment going on to our frequency.
Well, it could be. When my wife and I had our sighting,
they blipped out. Right?
They blipped out, and it wasn't like they accelerated out. They just faded, dematerialized.
The other part of that, which I find really interesting, is the actual physical ET beings, right? Where somebody is communicating, but suddenly they're gone. They appear and they disappear. Going into not only the possibility of another dimension, but also maybe even a parallel world where they are existing all around us. It's just that we are not on their frequency. We just don't see them. It goes with ET or any kind of life forms that may be indigenous to this planet, but they are operating on another frequency. I think we would be shocked if we knew what was actually living around us right now. We just can't see them.
Yeah, and it's sort of like thinking about what would happen if, we were able to time travel back, 20,000 years ago to primitive man, or visit the Neanderthals. What would Neanderthals think about our civilization right now if they saw us transport back into with a ship or cell phones or whatever it might be, guns and weapons and things like that? Nothing necessarily really advanced, but compared to a Neanderthal, we are the UFOs, we are the ETs.
Magic.
It's sort of on the same scale.
And what about that possibility? We're going to head towards a break. What about the possibility of ET, what we think is ET, may very well just be us from the future?
Well, my thought about that is that I think there's a lot to that. I think that our life on this planet was seeded by a higher intelligence, and that's why they have a vested interest in us.
But that's what I'm suggesting here is that maybe because when we talk about Pennington and his experience with Rendlesham was that the download that he got, the information that he got was that they weren't ET. They were us. They were human beings from the future coming back to check us out. Not from another star system, not another solar system. No, they were just us from the future. And ET or extraterrestrials or Sirius or Orion, the Palladium, that wasn't the case at all. It was simply us from the future.
Right. And, in a sense, there's something comforting to that, knowing that Big Brother's out there keeping an eye on us and hoping that we don't cross the line.
Well, yeah, we're scared of ET. We've all seen those movies, right? And so if we find out that it's just us, it's our distant relatives from the future, we would be okay with that. There's the big lie coming from the man. I just figured it out there, Steve. That's what they would, right? That's what they would use.
The code.
Yeah, there you go. Let's take a quick break. Our guest tonight, author Steve Alten, and his new book, Undisclosed. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Sorry for the delay. I've got fans up there in Canada sending me screenshots of our new show on History Channel, and so I was just indulging myself during the break, looking at myself on TV. Man, that is so vain. But it's not airing here, so it's all I've got. But I'm enjoying it. Our guest tonight, Steve Alten, and his new book, Undisclosed. And I want to go back to the benevolent question, because here today we are seriously, not since JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis have we had this crazy talk of nuclear war, right? It's all that is going on right now with North Korea. Why hasn't ET stepped in and interfered with North Korea's developments in their nuclear program? Because they, if we believe our own media and our own government, they're ready to go. They're ready to pull the trigger.
Well, I don't think ET or interstellar species think along the terms of political parties or different borders with countries. I think they think in terms of one world, one people, one civilization, and any threat to any of us is a threat to all of us. So to answer your question, in my opinion at least, because that's the only thing it could be, and according to Dr. Greer, because I've asked him about the same line of questioning, at a certain point when we cross the line, they will step in. And at that point, there'll be full disclosure.
So you don't think...
But they're not going to just show up in Washington, D.C. and land on the White House lawn, because that would freak everybody out.
So you don't think they would allow North Korea to use weapons offensively? They would step in?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they would allow World War III to happen. What triggers World War III? I don't know. Is nuclear war inevitable if North Korea launches first? Well, probably. Is Kim Jong-un just bluster, or is he, him and Trump are going back and forth, like two blithering idiots threatening the world? I can't say. But I don't think they're going to be like Superman and come in and intervene into the first nuclear missile shot up into space. And I'm also not convinced that we don't have weapons out into space that can take down a missile. Maybe Trump doesn't know about it, but I'm sure the military-industrial complex knows about it, and the Pentagon knows about it, and so anything that's launched. I mean, we've been working on Star Wars for a long time. We must have come up with something that works. And reverse engineering these technologies from ET for the last 70 years, they've had to have something out in space that can take down a missile, I would think.
It makes sense, but the other part for me, and I think we've all been waiting for this, if we were going to demonstrate our capabilities, then why not take out one of his missiles and just show him, Kim Jong-un, we call him Kim Fatty Fat around here, by the way, that's his name on this program. We just take down and let him know that his missiles are worthless. I don't understand why we haven't demonstrated that, whether it's from space or from one of our missile cruisers or one of the THAAD missile systems. Just take him out. Every time he tests another missile, we just shoot it out of the sky. I don't understand why we haven't demonstrated our technology to him.
Well, from a strategic standpoint, if you're in charge of that technology, you don't want to give away your hand or the ace that you keep up your sleeve until you have to play it. And the missile hasn't been launched, so there's no reason to take it out. Plus, you're also announcing to the Russians and the Chinese that you have this technology as well.
Well, I understand that, except the THAAD missile system is installed in Japan and in South Korea. I mean, it's not like we're hiding that technology. Those are anti-missile systems that are installed. And we have the same technology on our missile cruisers that are sitting out there with the Navy. We have told everybody these are anti-missile systems that are in place. So, use it. Let's show everybody that they actually work.
Well, I was actually thinking of something space-based.
With that, too, as well. And the other thing is, not only space-based, but, we have laser systems on 747s. We have 2 of those that we have built. So demonstrating that, okay, I understand that, but we certainly have conventional technology on the ground that is ready to go. I mean, North Korea wouldn't fire another missile. I mean, they don't want to be embarrassed that every time they fire a missile, it gets shot out of the sky, right?
This is true.
I mean, that's my take. I mean, seriously, Steve, I don't understand. But the other part is, for sure, I feel pretty confident in that there's been a lot of nuclear testing that has gone on, yes, but there hasn't been anything used offensively since Japan in World War II. And there's a reason for that, accidental or otherwise. And I really feel that ET has stepped in. There's been a couple of cases where we were on the verge of flipping switches, and then it turns out we couldn't because our systems were malfunctioning. And I do believe that ET was involved because in each one of those cases, there were lights in the sky or ships that were over these Minuteman missile installations.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. In fact, there's a section in Unacknowledged, Dr. Greer's book that I edited that has a testimonial from this guy. His last name was Jacobs, and he was the expert on photographing the ICBMs taking off from high altitudes. And in the film that he made, they're sitting there watching it, and the missile self-destructs. And looking at the replay, they see a UFO come on screen, circle the ICBM, take 3 blasts at it with its phaser weapon or whatever kind of weapon it was shooting at it, and the thing goes haywire and self-destructs.
Yeah,
there was also an incident that happened in a military base that had nuclear weapons. The nuclear silos, everything went dead. that the UFOs passed over it and basically short-circuited out the entire system.
Yeah, each one
documented.
Yeah, each one went red. Click, 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 click. And those were hardwired systems, by the way. Those were all independent of each other. There was nothing, it wasn't like one system went down, so it caused everything to go down. They were all independent of each other and redundant systems and were designed that way. And to have them all go offline at the same time in a row says something. Something manipulated it. And at that time, when they were all going down offline, they're getting phone calls from above talking about a craft that was outside the gates.
Yes, and a similar situation happened when we got the bright idea that we should send nuclear weapons into space, and basically E.T. took them out.
What example was that?
That happened, I think they were sending, they wanted to do an experiment. There was a project that they wanted to detonate a nuclear weapon on the moon. For what reason of insanity, I have no idea. But they were actually going through with this thing. And just like the ICBM was taken out, the transport was taken out as well.
And what's our current status today? Do you, what's going on with the moon? Also Antarctica. What do you think is going on down there? And also on Mars with not only our secret space program, but the possibility of E.T. occupying the moon right now, Mars, maybe even Europa, Phobos, and, right here in our own solar system. What do you know about those?
One of the most fascinating stories and testimonials that I had the opportunity to work with putting together on Acknowledged and Undisclosed was these testimonials from members of NASA who confirmed that E.T. is on the moon, that there are moon bases out there on the far side of the moon, and that when the Apollo 11 mission landed on the moon, that NASA was prepared to, in the event that they got a welcoming party, and there was a welcoming party waiting for them. And so what they had done was they created B-roll that they swapped in to the segment. There was a real moon landing. I'm not saying that there wasn't. There was definitely a real moon landing, but at the point where the camera shifted and included the ET in the picture, they switched to B-roll, and the B-roll included the flag. But the flag was moving. It was like ruffling wherever they had filmed it. I believe one of the witnesses said it was filmed in a back lot in New York. Well, they made one mistake. The flag shouldn't have moved because there's no air on the moon. And that sort of fed, it was like giving red meat to the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that. What about Antarctica?
That's interesting. I actually wrote a book called Vostok, which was part of the Loch Ness series. Vostok is a subglacial lake in Antarctica, 2 miles beneath the ice. It's a freshwater lake. And they had discovered, this is all real, that the military planes went over there and they discovered electromagnetic waves coming from Lake Vostok with a tremendous source of power that could have only been something otherworldly. Couldn't have been anything that we have because we can't even access it. But that maybe it's some type of extraterrestrial interstellar ship that's in Lake Vostok.
Do you think that with all the activity that is going on down in Antarctica right now, the fact that civilians just can't go and visit and check things out, there isn't anything going on that isn't government controlled, that they know that there is, that they have discovered something down there and they're trying to keep it from us because it would tip the scales, and the possibility maybe even Antarctica being Atlantis?
I'm not sure I confirm, Antarctica being Atlantis, at least the Atlantis of lore. Obviously, tectonic plate shift and Antarctica wasn't always where it was. But as far as there being other, higher technology available in Antarctica, that was the whole motivational reason that, Eisenhower created Majestic 12, because he knew that these ships were out there and they were shooting them down using these scalar weapons. And so it was, at the time, you have to realize that World War II had just ended. We're in a Cold War with the Soviet Union, and there's a race going on, and the race is to create a hydrogen bomb, which is far more terrifying than an atomic weapon like the ones used in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So, that kind of paranoia, and now you've got these interstellar ships that are flying over our military bases, and they are flying over the military bases like, a mice to cheese, because that's the conflict that brought them here in the first place. So you've got all these military personnel that are stationed at these bases that carry nuclear weapons, and the night sky is abuzz with UFOs, and they know about it. They're watching these things, and they know that the reason that they're coming to the military bases is because of the nuclear weapons.
And Mars?
Well, again, according to Dr. Greer and his testimonials he's collected over the years, we've basically been quarantined to Earth. We may send a drone or two to Mars and let the little robot follow around the surface of the moon or the surface of Mars. But we've basically been quarantined until we learn how to deal with each other. So I don't think we're going to be sending anybody to Mars anytime soon.
And well, Elon Musk wants to get people there by he's talking about 2020, 2021, 2022. They're ready to go.
They've been talking about that for the last couple of decades, and nothing ever seems to happen. And you've still got to overcome the reality that if these ETs are out there, and with their bases set up on the far side of the moon, they've still got to get past them.
Now, what do you think about, as we start to close out here, there are a few different approaches to disclosure. You've got, Stephen Greer, you've got Stephen Bassett, you've got Leslie Kane doing her thing and her approach to it. Three different approaches to this. And now we have Tom DeLonge, who has launched a public company to bring this technology forward. He's got some pretty big names involved, whether it's from the CIA or the military-industrial complex. He's got the former head of Skunk Works. He's got John Podesta. Everybody stepping forward publicly to back him in this and create this company. Again, a totally different approach to everybody. Who's going to win? What do you think is the best approach?
Boy, that's a good question, and if I knew that, I would get some stock into whatever one I believed in, but I don't know. I wish I could answer that. I'm not familiar with all the other theories coming from these other people as much as I am Dr. Greer's, and I sort of hedge toward Dr. Greer simply because it's obvious that they enjoy being in communication with him. And if that's the case, then that they've chosen their side too.
When you say they, who are you referring to, Steve?
They being the interstellars, they being the people, the civilizations that show up at these CE5 events in Joshua Tree and Vero Beach and all over the world that Dr. Greer has held these CE5 events. So if they're willing to come to him and communicate with his people, that means that they at least agree with his values.
Hey, did you see, can you comment on Tom DeLonge's presentation? Did you watch the live stream?
I didn't, so I can't really comment, but I will give you something that hasn't come up in our conversation. That was when I was on the CE5 retreat years ago with Dr. Greer. We were at Vero Beach, and he had rented out a beach house. And there were about 6 of us staying there with him, and everybody else was staying at a hotel. And we would be up till about 3 or 4 in the morning talking after the CE5 training. And one night, for some strange reason, the beach house didn't have any curtains on the windows. So Dr. Greer had bought these sheets of aluminum foil that we hung over the windows so that the sun wouldn't wake us up in the morning because we were up late at night. So I was laying in bed about 3 in the morning, and I'm looking out the window, and behind the foil there's something looking at me. This big insect head, like a praying mantis head, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and we're sort of communicating the fact that we're not afraid of each other. And after about 10 minutes of that, I rolled over and turned the TV on. I had enough of that.
Take me through that. What do you mean? How big was he?
He was about the size of a human, an adult man, but he had a praying mantis head. And I could clearly see it on the other side of the foil. And at one point, and this was really bizarre, and by the way, I don't drink and I don't take drugs.
Okay.
Although that night I probably was tempted to, but
I'm with you on that. Okay, so
all of a sudden the shadow of a spider goes up my wall. I mean, it was just this huge, like 4-foot spider that just crawled up the wall, shadow, and then disappeared. And I don't know if this thing was creating this effect, but it was just looking at me from the other side of the foil, and I was looking at him.
How long did it last?
Probably about 5 or 6 minutes.
And what do you mean you were communicating?
Communicating in the thought that, because Dr. Greer had prepared us really well, and one of the things that he prepared us by saying that if you're afraid, if you're freaking out, they'll leave because they don't want to freak you out. But if you're calm and you're communicating that you have peaceful intentions, that's their intentions as well. So, that was the thought that was going through my mind, that this being was paying me a compliment by stopping by to say hi. And in return, I wasn't going to freak out. And it was very calm and interesting. And, of course, I was exhausted laying in bed looking at this thing. And at a certain point, I figured, I have no problem with him being on the other side of the window, but I think I'm still going to turn the TV on and let him know that I'm going to sleep.
Did you guys make eye contact? In other words, he...
Oh, yeah.
Right. You guys, you're aware of him. He was aware of you being aware of him. There's no question about that, right?
No question.
And what was his body like? I know you said his head was praying mantis-like. I'm picturing a large, triangular head. But what about his body?
I actually wrote the scene in the book with the hero, that the hero went through the same thing that I went through. It's actually a scene in the book.
Right.
And I forget how I described the rest of his body, but it's in the book. I don't think it's exactly insect-like. I think it had maybe have 4 arms, but I didn't have a good look at the rest of its body. I had a really good look at its head and the shape of its head.
And
I said to Dr. Greer the next day, because we were talking about our experiences in a group circle, I said, well, this is what happened to me last night. And he said, well, that's actually an insect species that's actually a higher species that evolved out of insects. Just like we evolved out of primates, they evolved out of insects. And they really have a liking toward humans. So they're sort of a protector species to us.
Yeah, I've heard that many, many, many times, that they may look frightening, right, and bad, but they're the ones that are actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, did anybody else see anything that night?
Not like that, no.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, we talked about the interdimensional aspect of this. Did you see how this being appeared, and did you see how he left? Or I'm saying he, could be a she.
It was just at the window, and then when it was gone, it was gone. I had no idea how it got there, and no idea where it went.
No noise, no footsteps?
No noise at all.
And nothing else unusual. When you talked about this in the morning with everybody else, did anybody else hear anything or see anything or feel anything?
There was a bunch of people who had different kind of experiences as far as a sighting or a feeling or smelling colors or whatever it might have been, but I was the only one who saw a giant praying mantis head staring at me from the other side of the window. Yeah,
very cool. Very cool. I wanted to ask you, what color?
I had no idea because, it was coming through the foil, but it was just, dark, maybe light brown. I can't specifically remember, to be honest.
Yeah, fascinating. Steve, before we get out of here, I want to thank you in advance for this conversation tonight. It was absolutely amazing. Where can everybody go and not only Undisclosed, but all of your books?
Well, my books are all sold in bookstores, and Barnes & Noble has Undisclosed, still has first edition copies of Undisclosed, but you can also get them at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com.
And things are worked out with Amazon. I mean, they haven't shut you down.
Nothing's worked out yet. Hopefully we'll settle in the coming weeks.
What I mean is they haven't shut you down, is what I'm saying. So everybody can go to Amazon.
Yeah, I just checked the site, and the books are there. They've actually been kind enough to discount it about giving a third of the price off, so you can get a pretty good deal right now.
And I wanted to ask you about Meg and Jon Turtletaub. Is that still scheduled to be released in August 2018? And by the way, our female audience was really happy about Jason Statham. I just want to let you know. Are we still looking at August 2018? Are they shooting now?
No, they're in post-production, so it's just special effects right now. They've got all the shooting went down last August. Through January, and the movie's scheduled to be out in theaters August 10th.
Are you happy?
I haven't seen it. I will be happy once I see it. I'm excited about it, but it's still too early to get excited. By March, things will really kick in. Trailers will be in theaters.
Yeah, I know how that goes. And see, and this is the other thing, and I know that you've experienced this. A writer in a book, when it comes to television, the writer's fully involved. You're making decisions. You're on the set. You got things to say. When it comes to feature film, the writer is past tense, right? It goes into other people's hands, and you really don't have control, do you?
No, I did have my hands heavily involved in the script that was used to finance $150 million with Gravity Pictures, but and once Warner Brothers took over and they brought in other writers, I was relegated to parking the cars.
That's right. It's the way that it goes. Steve, thank you so much. And the book is great. Everybody can just go to Amazon, and you also can go to stevealten.com, and the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Steve, the book is excellent, and I want to thank you for the conversation tonight. Excellent.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. Steve Alten, everybody. Again, stevealten.com. The new book is Undisclosed, but all of his books, Meg, Domain, Resurrection, Phobos, and the Mayan Fear, all of that are available over at Amazon, and all of the updates are at stevealten.com. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll come back and open up the phone lines in just a bit. We'll go open lines, and I've got some news that you know nothing about. By the way, Dodgers won Game 1. I'll be right back.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our Super Tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I want to thank Steve Alten for coming in. The new book is called Undisclosed. SteveAlten.com. Very simple. And the links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. All right, phone lines are open. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. I've already got calls on hold. You guys stay right there. I'll get to you guys in just a second. But some of the news that you may know absolutely nothing about, check this out. Went completely under the radar today. It's happening again. A new global cyber virus attack began today and targeted corporate networks in Russia, Germany, Turkey, and the Ukraine. The new virus is called Bad Rabbit. And according to a darknet page where the details on ransom for the encrypted files were posted, the initial ransom is 0.05 Bitcoin or $300, but the virus features a timer, right? It's got a countdown timer. I posted up pictures of it. You can go over to, I think it's on my Facebook page. We might have it on the radio page too as well. But check out this countdown timer that they've got running. Right? It's right there. Bad Rabbit. Time left before the price goes up. Right? You don't pay the ransom in time, you've got to give up more ducks. It's right there. They're getting smarter. But go and look at that screen grab posted right there. It is absolutely frightening. So that went down today. It's currently going down. And those cyber criminals on the dark net, man, with Bitcoin, they're getting really smart. Now, Bitcoin, it edged up over $6,000 over the last couple of days. $6,000. Think about it. It's pretty crazy. Also, I don't know if you caught this, but I posted again. I want everybody. Let's see who. Let me head over to TweetDeck. Okay, you got that up. That was good. You guys are quick. But let's go to this next little piece of stuff that you may have missed. What's that noise coming down the street from in front of your house right now? Do you hear those? You hear those galloping hooves? Can you hear it? Well, it's the final horseman of the apocalypse, and I am not kidding. The end is near because it's coming in the form of a giant chocolate quesadilla. Taco Bell's Chocoladilla. That's right. They've got it. Are you ready for this? The quesadilla is replacing cheese with melted Kit Kats. Yeah, Kit Kats. I'm not making this up. Seriously. If you think I am not. And yes, the end of the world is officially near. It's close. Taco Bell has Kit Kat quesadillas. And this is the best part. They only cost $1. I'm not making this up, man. I don't even know what's next. I mean, what Jordan just says sounds diabetic, right? Eric just said nasty. I never imagined. Now, see, this is what's really funny. Over at the house, we have all of the ingredients in place to start test driving this on our own. We don't have to go to Taco Bell. I do want you guys to check it out and let me know how those taste. Now, it's a flour tortilla. It's a quesadilla, right? Flour tortilla with melted Kit Kat bars in it. And they're going to sell these things to you. Now, do you remember the Captain Crunch, the Captain Crunch balls, whatever they were, deep fried cereal? Those things were delicious, and they had they did too, man. They had a cream center, so it was perfect. It was perfect. It was like what do I want to? It was like how do I explain what those were? Like Crunch Berries, right? Yeah, those were pretty good. Anyway, right now at a Taco Bell near you. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's see. Let's go to the main line first. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Jimmy.
Yes.
This is Ken from Irvine.
Hey, Ken from Irvine. How are you?
How you doing, sir? Great. Thank you for taking my call. Love the idea of the chocolate thing from Taco Bell. That'll the ride home good. But what I called about was love the show tonight. And what I ended up with, the takeaway for me was our best bet combating the industrial military complex might very well end up being fatty fat. How's that for a frightening concept?
I know, right? You know, over the last, well, we can go back over the last few months, certainly, but over the last week, if you jumped around on mainstream media, on any of the news outlets, and I'm talking about BBC or Sky or RT or Fox or, CNN, MSNBC, pick your poison. It doesn't matter. If you jumped around on any one of those, the headlines over and over again are saying, you know what, we're prepping for nuclear war. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. There's nothing else that can be done. This is crazy talk, man. I mean,
crazy talk. And from the days, like you said, from the days of JFK and running out into the hallway and putting our, duck and cover, it's nuts.
It's crazy talk. I mean, it's absolutely crazy talk. Now, this is what I'm most paranoid about is if he manages to strap on some type of nuclear device on the tip of one of those missiles, no guidance system, just fires it off in the general direction of something, right? And it could be anywhere. It could be Russia. It could be Europe. I mean, that's a large amount of land there. He fires it towards the United States and just, fills full tank of gas, right? And let that thing go as far as it can. There's a lot of water in the middle, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong, right? But just firing off one of those missiles in any direction with not reckless abandon, not caring about the end results, knowing that he's going down in flames, right? Yeah. That's what I'm tripping on. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. I don't want to see it happen to North Korea. I just don't want to see it happen. But it just seems like, and this is what I had said, Ken, and I mean this, you have two doofuses here pushing each other in the chest with their fingers, right?
Right.
Going at each other.
Schoolyard, knock this off my shoulder. God, I dare you. I dare you.
Right. And eventually somebody's going to call somebody's bluff. And that's what I don't want to see happen. I don't understand this kind of diplomacy from either side. I don't understand this rough talk coming out of Washington. It scares the crap out of everybody. I'd rather have this stuff go down, behind the scenes. We don't need to have this kind of fear. I don't need children thinking about, mommy, daddy, are we going to have a nuclear war tomorrow? What are we doing? And it's the same thing with North Korea. I don't understand that kind of diplomacy. I don't get it. But if we believe what is going on, dude, this could go down tomorrow.
Yeah,
and I don't like it. I just don't. I don't like it.
It doesn't need to be sophisticated. It needs to be a point and shoot, and that'll be ugly enough.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't like it at all. I'm not a fear mongering guy, but this is, you go and you read this kind of rhetoric on any news outlet. It doesn't matter where you go. You can bounce around the world and look and see what everybody's talking about, and they're talking about this, and they all should be scared. How would you, seriously, how would you like to live in South Korea right now?
That's the thing. From what I understand, South Korea is all vim and vigor. The ugly American, they're the rats, and we have to defend ourselves from their.
I'm talking about South Korea, not North Korea.
South Korea.
Yeah, because if those nuclear, we're talking about doing what we're doing, that fallout, that nuclear issue is going down 30 miles to the north of Seoul. Yeah. That is crazy talk, man. It's crazy talk. Yeah. The good news is we're not evacuating. If there were news that, the American families that are there, with our servicemen and women, that, if those families are coming back to the United States, we're at the holy crap moment there. We're flying them out to Guam or whatever, evacuating, getting them to Japan or whatever in evacuation. Then we need to really, really think about things. But I don't like the talk.
I'd be stunned. Yeah, I'd be stunned if China is just. China's on the brink. They're just going to sit by and say, "Oh, that's okay. Go ahead and have a nuclear war in our backyard. We don't mind." I find that hard to believe.
Well, and also we talk about China, but if you look at a map of North Korea, Russia is on that border too. Russia dips down and touches North Korea. And if anything goes down there, the nuclear fallout, those clouds drifting north into China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, man, we've got issues. We got real world big problems if it goes down. So I don't know, man. It scares the crap out of me. And I'm hoping Washington is smarter than we know, and it's not going to go down. Because if it goes down, it's going to go down big, and we're not going to play around with it. And I just don't want to see it happen. I don't. Thank you for the phone. Yeah, go ahead,
one
Ken.
thing, Jamie, like you said, there were the lifers, the 30, 40, 50-year true government people. You got to hope that at this point they're in control of this doofus.
Yeah, it can't happen. It just cannot.
That can't happen.
It cannot. Thank you for the phone call. Yeah, absolutely, Ken. Behave out there, my friend.
Good night, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you. Great phone call right there. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Debbie from Sacramento.
Hi, Debbie from Sacramento. How are you?
Good, Jimmy. Hey, regarding this whole nuclear thing, you guys were talking earlier on the show about weapons in space.
Right.
And I think we have advanced weapons in space that have been up there for at least 50 years. And my fear is that some of those weapons were deployed on 9/11, and that's why the towers turned to dust.
Could be. Don't know.
Maybe that was their rehearsal because it was too expensive to demolish the building, so they decided to do a little trial run under the guise of several agendas to accomplish what they needed to do, and they decided to use those weapons and take those down. Just a thought. That's kind of a dark thought, but it's possible.
Right.
But along all this, getting back to what you guys were just talking about too, it's a scary subject to think about nuclear war. But if they see all these people waking up and not being as afraid of false flags anymore, and they watch how we all talk on the internet, what's their agenda? To keep us in perpetual fear, right? So what better way to keep us in perpetual fear than to propagate all of this talk on all these different news outlets to make us worry about this? Because it lowers our vibration and it keeps us in fear so that we're not going the other way that we're trying to go so that we can basically defeat them. Just a thought.
Yeah, I do. I think it goes without question that we have armed satellites, and so do the Russians. And for a few different reasons. One, to take out things here on the planet, right? That would reach down to the surface. And it could be with lasers. There's that possibility, some type of laser or plasma weapon. There's that. But also in a conventional sense, literally missiles or warheads on a satellite that we would deploy from space. Why? Because you don't have to launch it from Earth, get it, and then re-enter. It's already up in space, and right, it would literally rain down on somebody within minutes. So there's that. But also, let me give you something else to contemplate. We have armed satellites to take out other satellites, right? That's and it wouldn't even have to be something crazy. What about like a machine gun or a gun? And you cruise up next to another satellite and you just shoot it. It wouldn't take much to dismantle it in space and take it out very quickly. And there's another aspect. What about ramming another satellite with like a killer satellite? You've seen Robot Wars, right? Right? You've seen the TV show. So imagine that going on in space. We've got all kinds of contingency plans up there. You want to take out somebody really quick and dismantle their military, take out their satellites. So there's that. So do I think it's in play? I certainly do. But let's end on a good note, Deb. Why don't we do this? Let's raise our consciousness. Would you eat that Taco Bell chocoladilla?
I would for Halloween, sure.
Would you do it? A melted Kit?
For Halloween, I would. Yeah, it's treat day.
Who thinks up a melted Kit Kat in a flour tortilla? Right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I thought their Crunch Berry balls or whatever they were called, man, that just sounded bad, didn't it? But those things were good, man. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the Burger King Lucky Charms shake, oh man, that was so good. Makes me want to go to Burger King tonight. I wonder if they still have them. But okay, and I'll leave us with this before I get on with the news. What's your favorite Captain Crunch?
Oh, the original Captain Crunch.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there, can you?
A good classic never dies.
No, you can't do that. And somebody was just posting in Twitter, whenever we talk breakfast cereals on this show, everybody's got their own way of doing it. And somebody just said, whenever you eat, where'd that go? I want to give somebody credit here. Somebody said, don't let, here it is, Nicholas. Nicholas says, never let crunch berries get soggy. You got to eat the crunch berries first, right out of the box.
And you know what's worse than that? Never eat Captain Crunch without half and half.
You know what? I've done that. I've done that.
Oh wow!
Well,
good.
Yeah, what I do now, I've raised my game. I've elevated my game. Okay, seriously, whole organic milk. Man, that's like half and half. That's a whole nother ball game. That is not, your red capped vitamin D, whatever homogenized milk, and you don't know where that comes from. I'm telling you, whole organic milk will change your life. Man. Oof.
That sounds great. And then chase it down with some Life Change tea.
That's right. You got to. Thank you, Deb. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow night on the show. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
There you go. So half and half on Captain Crunch. That's a game changer. That's a game changer right there. Yeah. All right. Where am I? Lucky Charms. Yeah. See, you guys did that, right? The Lucky Charms shake from Burger King. It was the bomb. Man, look at you guys. You guys are picking up what I'm putting down. That gets a retweet. That gets a retweet right there. Thank you very much. And that's from Eric. All right. Where was I? I got to go. I got to back up. You guys. Full cream milk or nothing. Yeah, exactly. Had to hit the cough button. Okay. Are you ready for this? Kids, dozens of schools right here in Southern California, in San Diego, will be placed on minimum day schedules due to high temperatures. The county is under excessive heat and red flag warnings this week, and students from 85 San Diego Unified School District schools will be heading home early. Why? Well, temperatures are forecast to reach a blistering 90 degrees. That's right. That's on the coast. 90 degrees. Beachfront weather in San Diego, 90 degrees, and they're freaking out. 100 degrees further inland. Right? Now, let me tell you something. When I was a kid, now you knew I was going to go there, right? I'm being serious here for a second. What are they talking about? 90 degrees on the beaches, and they're going to close these schools down. When I was a kid, let me tell you, I literally walked to school for 10 miles in one direction, literally, with snow up to my neck, minus 10 degrees, freezing my face on one side, and then I would walk in the other direction while my frozen side of my face is thawing out. I'd freeze up the other side, and I did that till I got to school. Frostbit, frozen hands, fingers, toes, and nobody said nothing. And if I would have went back to my parents and said, it's just too hot today. Can I stay home? I can't even tell you what would have happened. Unbelievable. Anyway, man, we just, you know what? Our kids are precious, but that's a bit too much right there. That is way too spoiled. But now for some good news. You may have a chance to win $1 billion in the lottery. A lot of lotteries, but it comes at a price. Mega Millions is changing its structure to increase the size of its jackpots starting Saturday, October 28th. The tickets for the lottery, currently played in 44 states, Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands, will now cost players $2 instead of $1. The new structure is meant to increase the size of the jackpots. The starting jackpots will make a huge jump from $15 million to $40 million and then grow from there. That makes reaching $1 billion, like the $1.6 billion Powerball last 2016, more possible. The changes will affect the odds of players winning the Mega Millions, though, making it harder to win big despite the potential for a larger prize. The game will be redesigned to have players choose from 5 numbers, ranging from 1 to 70, and 1 Mega Ball number from 1 to 25. The odds of winning the new Mega Millions jackpot will rise from 1 in 258 million to about 1 in 302 million. And the odds of winning any prize will jump from 1 in 15 million to 1 in 24 million. Unbelievable. But you know what? We're going to be heading out October 28th, and we're going to load up on some Mega Millions. And actually, we did just that today. Now, I want to leave you with this. A note that Albert Einstein gave a courier in Tokyo, briefly describing his theory on happy living, sold today in Jerusalem for $1.56 million. Now, check this out. The winning bid for the note far exceeded the pre-auction estimate. Are you ready for this? Somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000. That's what they were expecting to get for the note. Somebody posted, thank you, Mark. You got it up there really quick. Here is a picture of the said note. Now, I know what you're asking. What does it say? Right there. There it is. 1920. What does it say? 1923? Is that what it says? Anyway, the note in detail said in German, a quiet and modest life brings more joy than a pursuit of success bound with constant unrest. $1.56 million. And it's right there on Imperial Hotel Tokyo stationery. Unbelievable. They thought they were going to get $5,000 for that thing. $1.56 million. And that, my friends, conclude another episode of Fade to Black. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Jonas, thank you, Dennis, thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planets. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Until tomorrow night, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.